we didn't have a shower for 5 days, and it was like, no, this is we need to stop this. We need to find somewhere where we can have a shower and cook some hot food, because this is getting ridiculous.
Nice one. And I want to talk about the accommodation you had, because it's an array of accommodation. So you've got hostels, you've got camper vans, overnight trains. What was the decision behind each of those?
So basically, if we're staying in the city, we'd be staying in a hostel. The camper van, if you're going to go somewhere like Australia, where the infrastructure isn't as good as it is maybe in Western Europe around like sort of trains and buses, then you can get a camper van, and you can arrive in Cairns and you can drive it one way to Sydney, and it will cost you X amount. You know how much you have to pay up front. That's done and dusted, and then you can go wherever you want. And that sort of freedom in most places was good. We could have got a Greyhound bus, which is kind of good. You're going to go Cairns, then you're going to go to stay in Queensland and Brisbane, and then a couple of other places, but you're not going to have the freedom that we were looking for. The overnight trains were basically a way for us to save money on travel, because we would then save the cost of a hostel. So in Vietnam, you can get a 12-hour overnight train, which will take you down the coast, and that's a train journey we're going to have to make anyway, so we might as well do it and sleep as well. And generally speaking, the overnight trains were pretty good. The one in Vietnam was slightly awkward when the three, it was me, my wife, and 3 other Vietnamese dudes, and they all just started smoking from like midnight to like 4 a.m. just in this compact thing. It was a rickety old thing, and I was on the top bunk, and every time it shook, I was convinced it was going to sort of smash down on top of Georgia. And they smoked the entire night, and it's just one of those things. We tried to tell them no, and they were like, "No, we're just going to carry and do it." But they at least opened a window, which when they first started doing, they hadn't done. I don't think I got much sleep that night. I watched an unbelievable amount of Lemony Snicket on Netflix, because it's all I had downloaded on my phone. Whereas the overnight train we had in China, which I think was Chengdu to Xi'an, we had a sort of a mum and her daughter. She was going to try to see family. Again, didn't speak a word of English, but was sort of offering us noodles and dumplings. And again, because she had their 8-year-old daughter, they were asleep by 11 a.m. and we didn't have anything to worry about. So the main reason we do overnight trains is to save money. But again, you see more of the countryside, you see more of the people than you would otherwise. And generally, they're pretty reliable as well. So.
Yeah. And what class did you travel in? First class, second class?
I think the Vietnamese trains were first class, because it's like first class sleeper where you get a bed, or standard sleeper where you just get a seat. So we're like, okay, we actually want a bed, and it wasn't the price difference wasn't huge. And then in China, I don't think it was like the top class, but it was one below it, which again you get a bed, you get a little bathroom. We didn't really make. We could have gone up to first class if we wanted, but we similarly you don't want to feel like you're trying to avoid everything all the time. So we were just like, we'll just go there. And it was great. And generally travel, we on trains during it, we just got the standard class. I think the only time we did we got sort of bumped ourselves up to was extra leg room on a 6-hour bus journey in Malaysia. But that's only because I'm 6'2" and Malaysians aren't the tallest people. So I was like, I need the extra leg room.
Yeah, smart decision, I think. And talking about your campervan experiences, I tallied up on the spreadsheet that you did a total of 11 weeks in campervans across 3 different countries. How did you find that?
Mixed. So Australia was really good because the weather was nice, and Australia is a country which is really set up for campervanning. It's something they obviously do. It's something which expats and tourists do. So most places you go to, you're going to get a place you can cook, a place you can shower, and also some seclusion so you can get a good night's sleep. And that's not just from the paid campsites, but also they have pretty good free campsites, either in their national parks or sort of just on the side of roads where it's actually pretty good. New Zealand again has a similar setup, but we're at this point where we're sort of in the spring of New Zealand, it was getting a bit colder. Whereas in the States, I think it's only in California where they legally have to give you a shower. Really? I think in Utah and Nevada they don't legally.
Oh, sorry.
there weren't as many free campsites. You either had to go to a national park, which would cost you a bit of money, or you didn't find a campsite, and what you end up doing is sleeping in Walmart car parks a lot. And that's not a idiot Christian's gone and slept in a Walmart car park. It's you drive past Walmart at 9 p.m. and there are lots of camper vans getting ready to stay there for the night because Walmart are happy to let you there stay overnight. It's 24 hours. There's a security guard on. There's cameras. Like it's actually a pretty good place to go and sleep overnight. But there was a particular period where I don't know why, but we didn't have a shower for 5 days, and it was like, no, this is we need to stop this. We need to find somewhere where we can have a shower and cook some hot food because this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah. So is it overall a method of transport and accommodation which you would recommend?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You can't do it. You can't do it in the States. You can't not drive in the States. There's no trains. There's no, if you can fly places, but again, that's going to be really expensive. You could rent a car and get in motels, but again, the cheapest motel is going to be $65 a night. Whereas I think our camper van was $45 a night, maybe even less, maybe like £39 a night. I don't remember, but you just have to do it. So in the States, 100%, in Oz, 100%. Again, in New Zealand, there's probably less places you can go to. So if you wanted to kind of drive for a day, stay in a hotel, drive again, then that's fine. But again, we had a camper van. It was big. We had a bed. Most campsites were pretty cheap. You got cooking places. We were going out for dinner anyway. So it worked out all right.
Yeah, awesome. And in terms of accommodation overall, are there any tips that you'd give in terms of maybe arriving in a location and booking a hostel or getting good deals?
Sure. So there were there were 2 websites we used predominantly. One was called Accommodation.com. Is it Accommodation.com? ACODO.com. And the other one is Booking.com. Booking.com, generally speaking, had the best prices. And if they didn't have a best price, they'd price match. And the other thing that Booking.com which is really helpful, is once you do a certain amount of bookings, I think it's 10, you get Genius membership, which allows you to cancel up to in some places like 2 hours before. So if you have a last change of plans, you can, and that Genius membership is for life. So we were actually due to go to Japan back in March. For our belated honeymoon, and we literally, I think we were due to fly on the 17th of March, and it was like peak COVID time, so we didn't go. But all of the hotels I booked, I'd done through Booking.com, and I was able to cancel straight away, so we didn't have to pay anything. Which bearing in mind we cancelled 2 days out from having to leave was pretty impressive. So those were the main sites, and then what we tended to do was just cross-reference the websites to make sure other places were legitimate. And similarly, we used a couple of travel websites like lonelyplanet.com to see who they were recommending, and then sort of we have 2 or 3 we look at, and then we look at the area and decide which one we go to based on that.